Hi everyone, thank you for joining me for part 2 of my level 2 project for the Altenew Educator program. Part 1 was the blog post showing how we made this set of masculine cards, and part 2 is going to be how we upcycle and reinvent a couple items so that we can gift wrap this set of cards, and as well as create a gift for the recipient. We're going to be upcycling a few things to do that, and how we do it is going to correspond with our theme, which is of course masculine card theme project. Show you some versatility in how to use some Altenew products other than card making, and hopefully see how creative I can be with upcycling and making some trash to treasure for this project. So I'm going to put the cards over to the side so they stay out of my messy way, because you guys know me. If you've seen my other Instagram live shows, you know I am messy. I'm going to zoom out. So whoop, that's not out. I'm going to zoom out and go over, first of all, the supplies I'm going to use for this project. So first thing we're going to be using is Tanzanite ink. This is going to be the ink for this particular project. So I've got my acrylic block here. You can use a stamping platform if you want, but we're really only going to be stamping one sentiment. And that sentiment will be stamped onto the Classic Crest Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and cut out with the die cut of the apothecary labels. And what sentiment is that going to be? Well, we're going to use the Paint a Flower Anemone set. I like these sentiments because they can go any direction. They can be for your friend, your boyfriend, the mailman, if the mailman's your boyfriend, whatever. They're great. I like this one, Live in the Moment. Beautiful inside and out, of course, is great. Be your own kind of beautiful, just smile. So I thought these were perfect to cover all of the sentiments we put together in the card set. And what is it that we're going to make? We are going to make a belly band to go over these cards. Okay, but not your average belly band. We're going to be taking this coffee ring. This is my favorite from our neighborhood coffee shop, Butter Rum. They never put real rum in it though. That's okay. We're going to be upcycling this into something that the recipient of this gift set of cards could use every day, not just a throwaway cardboard one. And then that is actually going to become the belly band of our card set. And to package all these so you can ship these out to whoever you are thinking about, whoever is out of the state, whoever you haven't seen since the pandemic, whoever's overseas. We have this beautifully calm colors. No, I don't want to say masculine, but more masculine themed, I felt, mailing envelope from, you guessed it, Altenew. So we're going to dress this up a little bit so it can be reused and mailed out to whoever is going to receive this gift set of cards. Now, we are, of course, going to make this look pretty. And to do that, as we did in the card set, we are going to use some more of the paper from A Love for Stripes set D. I also pulled out the back of the paper pack. I like using these as little sentiments here and there. So I don't know if we can use these or not, but we're going to see if we can. And if we can't, then we'll have them for another project, but you never know. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is work on making this pretty, because we're going to be gluing on this and we're going to want the glue to set up. So we're going to start with this first. So this is just a standard cardboard coffee ring. They're everywhere. If you have one that is not the same measurements as mine, all you have to do is some slight adjustments But I will tell you what the measurements are for this one. But what you want to start with is pulling it apart. See where it's glued together? Don't rip it. You want to try and keep it in its shape. All right. You don't have to worry about how it's going to look, but you don't want to rip an end off either. All right, so if there's any little tails like that, you can flick those off. Okay, but don't worry, we're going to glue it back together when we're done. Okay, now, depending on what your coffee holder, or is it a coffee sleeve? It might be a coffee sleeve. Depending on what your coffee sleeve measures at, you have to take a couple measurements. You have to measure the length, and then the width in the middle, and the width of each end. And you don't have to be like finding the right angle of this acute 30-degree whatever, okay? All you have to do is lay the piece on your mat, whatever you have as a mat for measuring, and you're just going to find the farthest point on one side and the farthest point on this side and count those inches out and see what it is. Mine was 10.5 inches long. So I know that at 5 1/4 inches is going to be the middle. And let's see if you can see this. There we go. I am going to put this. Of course, my mat is backwards with numbers, so just so bear with me. Your mat is probably not. A lot of my tools and things are backwards. I think it's because I'm left-handed, traditionally. Well, ambidextrous, but mostly left hand. All right, so I know that mine is 10.5 inches long. All I'm going to do is go in 5 1/4 inches. And that's my quarter line there. If you don't believe yourself, you can do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1/4. All right, good to go. So where you got your 5 1/4, on the top side, you're going to find that on the bottom side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1/4. My quarters on this are dots, so that's why you don't really see them well, but I can see them pretty good. So you see, I wasn't like measuring angles and things. I'm just going right for imagining that this is a safe rectangle. And draw a line. Now, because of the way that this particular coffee sleeve is made, you see these perforations on each side. To give this strength, if we were to just put paper, let me show you. If we were to just put paper in each section, that would, as this got used, this would naturally start folding on those perforations and it would wear out and there wouldn't be much life left to this cool, what's going to be a cool little coffee cup holder, coffee mug holder. So we're going against the laws of physics, I think. We're going to be putting this paper in at an angle, all right, so that it's going to be glued across that perforation in the middle, and that's going to solidify this. So even though it's going to be circle shaped when it goes around the coffee cup, it's going to have stability over that because we are going opposite angle of the natural perforation on that on these panels. So to figure out where these papers come in to angle, you want to measure exactly out from the top on each side, from the top middle, and from the middle bottom out on each side. Now, for me, what I did was I measured right down the middle, and of course I just lost my ruler. There it is. All right, measure right down the middle. So that's 2.5. So right in the middle is 1 1/4 inches. Now, if you put 2 pieces of paper in there, all you have to do is eyeball. See how I'm rotating them? Eyeball them till they basically look good. All right, this isn't total science yet. We're just eyeballing how the triangle formed at the top and the triangle formed at the bottom look pretty similar to each other. So with that, we're going to take a measurement. We'll start at the top. Put your middle line of the coffee sleeve on a 1-inch mark of your mat. And then that way you can measure over in increments equal distance on each side out from that middle line. So by putting the tip on the middle of that middle line and rotating the paper up, we can see, okay, if we left the paper here, we would have 1.25 inches space showing. Well, how much is that down here? From the middle line out, that's 1.5 inches. See where it meets the cardboard? We don't want it at 1.5 inches. We want it even. So all you have to do then is rotate this paper. See, if you put the point of your paper here, you can say, okay, well, 1.25 inches over looked pretty good. But at the bottom, it's 1.5 inches where they meet. So you just rotate that paper, keeping your finger on it in the middle, until it's equal at the top and the bottom. So now we're looking at basically 1 inch and what would be 3/8 on the top and the bottom. And we're going to mark that. Oops, of course we wrote it on our paper. And we're going to mark that at the bottom. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Put your middle line on 1 inch solid line of your mat. And we did 1 3/8 inches. So go 1 inch over and 1 inch over. Go 1/4 and 1/4, and then half of the next quarter is 1/8. So that's where we're rotating in between. We're going to stop it rotating right where the paper meets the cardboard in between that next 1/4 inch. So that's 1 3/8 inches. And we'll do it on this end. And there we go. Okay. Now you get to decide what paper you're going to decorate the front of it with. Now I use the blue ones, but actually the blue ones are going to be our accent colors. So I'm going to put those over to the side. I want to use these colors. And this is fun. This is where you can use up scraps of paper. Now remember, this is a 6x6 inch paper pad. So you can use any paper as long as the entirety of the paper covers that entire half of your coffee sleeve. Because once we apply this paper, we're going to trim it around. Okay? So I like to use glue stick. I like a Craft Bond grade glue stick for this. First of all, I prefer liquid glue. Tombow is great. I love it. However, if it seeps out on your project, it will remain sticky. Now, the person is going to be holding this coffee sleeve. So number one, you don't want it sticky. And number two, coffee from a coffee shop or coffee from your own home or whatever is really super hot. And that heatness might reactivate the glue and make it sticky. Glue stick won't do that. So where's my, you might want to get a glue, get your glue, where is it called? Silicone mat, which I cannot find. There it is. Get your silicone mat down and just generously apply your glue. Don't worry about overlapping. Okay, and just like with liquid glue, this will still give you a little bit of freedom to move it around so that you can make sure it's placed well with the other one. So we'll flip it around and add our glue to the other side. Now you could, if you were worried about the craft craft grade glue stick, you could use a traditional tacky glue, something that's not going to remain sticky once it dries if it seeps out or gets hot. All right, so that just goes there. Now, I'm holding this at the points, pressing it out, because you don't want it to move now that we got it placed. Okay. Next, we're going to be putting glue into these little triangles. And for that, I thought we would use the blue and dark blue and the light blue. So move this over. And again, now you already went over with the glue from attaching the other two pieces of paper, so you have a little bit of working space there. Of course, there goes the light. There we go. And then, which one do we want to use? Yep. Just slide your paper into the triangle. Press them down next to each other, okay, so that you know they're flat up against each other and not coming up over each other. All right, so just pressing that down right now. Then, run around carefully because we got to put the glue on this side. The glue stick actually works good to get up against the edges of the other papers as well. And then just slide this one in. And just feel where they connect. You can feel if you have to push one over a little bit so that they go flat. There we go. Now for some added protection and bonding, I use my trusty smusher. This is a vintage speedball brayer. This was given to me by my friend, who was the first one who got me into paper crafting officially. So, and I've never used it for inking. I've always used it for smushing things, and it works great. Okay, now you're gonna lift it up. Have to lift it off the, there we go. Peel off your silicone mat if it's stuck. I would again give it a good smush. And then here you can use your craft knife. You can let this dry longer if you're worried about it, and you can come at it with your scissors. If you're going to use your craft knife, remember, many light passes and overshoot the corners. Okay. Now I did just recently change the blade in my X-Acto knife, so it's nice and sharp. And of course, if you're crafting, you should always have a very sharp X-Acto knife so that you don't push too hard and end up going over your own fingers. And you want to overshoot the corners so that you get good, nice, clean breaks at the corners, and you don't have to try and pop out whatever it is you are trying to cut. You can test it, of course, so you know, no, just keep going. It's better to do many light passes. Oops, there we go. That nice clean cut. It's better to do many light passes than it is one big heavy pass. In fact, let's cut that off too. Okay, so it goes away. And then I don't mind cutting off the entire thing because now it's just a scrap I can use for something else. So that's fine. I am still trying to follow the original shape of coffee sleeve though. If you're going to use scissors to do this, I would definitely recommend letting it set up, you know, maybe for an hour, although this craft grade bond glue stick does set up pretty quick. But just because with scissors, you're going to be moving the paper more, and you want to make sure you have good adherence of the glue to the project. So there's many more ways you could decorate this. I am keeping it simple and clean, lined, to go with our theme of my cards. But if you were going to cover this, you could cover this in material as well, and then go in with, you could do liquid glue, you could put tacky glue around the entire edge and put some what's that called? You know, some ribbons or fuzzy things or whatever. You can really decorate this up. Pretty fun. All right, so see how we did. There is our cool masculine colors. Now, next we are going to make our sentiment. Our sentiment's going to be small, and it's going to be attached with a glue dot for so it can move as the sleeve moves. So we're going to be attaching it with a glue dot, and I'm going to be using this scrap of white cardstock. If you were making this if you were embellishing this even more, I would definitely probably recommend hot glue. You know, if you're adding gems or jewels or things, I don't know, you could go so far with it. I don't know. So let's get our Stampin' Pad. I got a little baby Stampin' Pad here. The Stampin' Pad is for hard surfaces when you are using a photopolymer stamp, so that it can get good pressure all over the stamp instead of hitting that hard surface. So I like this one, the Live in the Moment. We're going to go with that. Now, it's already been used a lot by me, so I don't need to condition it, but I will make sure I put my finger on it to stick it to the block so it still gets a little conditioning. Live in the Moment. Okay. And again, you could just put this in your Stampin' platform. I'm not gonna worry about it. I am good with stamping freehand, I guess, with photopolymer stamps, because they don't have that ridge around them that red rubber stamps do. However, if you get that ink on the side, wipe that off. Don't use your fingertips, because then you'll get all over your project. So find a good spot for that on your scrap. There we go. And set that off to the side again so you don't stick your fingers in it. I stick my fingers in all of them. Next, we're going to take our label and see which one is the best. Like I said, I don't want it to be too big. So we're going to go for these smaller ones. In fact, I'm going to even start with the real small one and see if that works. It works. The goal is to you need it to have one glue dot in the middle. Because the more glue dots you have, the more it's going to hold that shape and not mold around the cup. So believe it or not, we're going to go for the small one. All right, I am making room for my die cutter. I'm going to grab some purple tape because my tabletop die cutting machine does not have a magnetic pad on it. So I will be taping it down. And we'll zoom out for you. Ooh, I'm sorry. There we go. So of course, depending on what die cutting machine you have, depends on how you make the sandwich of your plates. So pay attention to that. Oops. Now in taping this down, because my boards are warped from using them, I'm going to tape it down on a hard, nice, flat surface first. And I'm not going to put a majority of the tape over the inside of the element here, just in case it does rip the paper. Just going to put just a corner, just enough, so that it holds it. So let's see. There we go. Just enough to hold it down. This tape is pretty sticky. All right. Now I can put it on my cutting plates, confident that it will cut exactly how I want it to cut. Okay, cutting machine away. Let's pull it out here. And there is our cute little sentiment. It's perfect size. Remember to take your die off of your scrap cardstock. Do not throw it out with your trash. All right, keep that accounted for. All right, and our glue dots. Of course, real simple to apply a glue dot to an embellishment. I snip off the one I want first. If yours come on a roll like this, I just snip it off. And you can see through the paper on most of them. And I'm going to stick it right where all those four corners come together. And off it comes. And then stick our little guy on there. And we have that. Now we got to glue it back together so it can be used for its purpose of being a coffee sleeve. All right. So remember, this one had those original perforations there. So we're going to be very careful when we fold this around because we really don't want those to break. But the original piece, this side was glued over that side. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Now on this, we are going to use tacky glue. You want a good, strong glue that, again, will not leave a sticky residue when it dries. And is going to be solid, solid, solid when it sets up. And so where you see you ripped off from originally from the glue, from where it was glued, that's where you're going to put your glue again. Okay, we're just repeating history here. You are going to be using 2 paper clips because you want a good strong bond, and you don't want it too far around, but you want to make sure. If you'll notice here how that's cut up, and this is a straight corner, so I'm going to make sure that that straight corner hides that cut. And then I'm just going to slide them in. If you get glue popping out, that's okay. The tacky glue is great because you can wipe it off and you'll never know it was there. The paper clips, of course, are because we are gluing against gravity here on a round shape. So there you go. Remove any extra glue. Stick your paper clips on. And here is our custom designed matching coffee sleeve holder, as well as the belly band to hold our set of cards. Yes, I know I still have the paper clips on there, but that is okay. Slide that on there. Now you have a great gift to give to that man in your life, or to mail to whoever it may be. They can take this off, use it on their cup of coffee, and read all the nice sentiments that you're going to put into those cards. Now, how are we going to get it to our person, whoever it is? Well, again, we are going to upcycle this mailing envelope. So yes, it's already been used, obviously, but you can reglue it and you can put postage on it and all that. What you have to do is get a piece of paper. Of course, now I don't know where I put the paper. Here it is. All right, so I'm going to put this over here because it still has my address on it. You need a piece of paper big enough to cover the original mailing label. All right, and again, we are going to use some paper from the Set D, A Love for Stripes. Let's see, which one do we want to use? Let's use this one. We're going to use this one because it is the lightest of the blues. It blends in and it doesn't look harsh. It blends in, it's still smooth. It flows nicely. So we got lucky in the fact that this 6x6 piece of cardstock fits exactly over that shipping label. So let's play with this again. This is fun because, first of all, you've got the lines. So you can write your address and then who it's going to right on the lines. But if you want to, decorate it just a little bit, which of course we want to do, right? Let's just use the same stamp from the Anemone set. And let's get a big block. We need a big block for that one. I love to do this kind of stamping on envelopes because it's very low commitment to the project. So you have less of a chance of doing anything wrong to mess it up. Keep in mind for this particular piece of paper that you're going to be putting your address and who it's going to address on there. But what you can do is we're just going to take some edges of this stamp, and guys won't even realize that this was like a cluster of chick flowers or whatever. All right, we're just going to ink it just enough, because even if you bought them a package at a stationery store, you're going to get flowers or something. You got to have something else. Now, maybe your person you're sending this to has a particular thing they like and you have a stamp to match. Go for it. I don't know who's going to get this, but I do know they're going to get enough leaves to show I care, but that I appreciate the fact that they're a dude not into total leaves. So, put that there. And I just picked out just the leaves. I think that's a bud in there, but I didn't pick out the actual flowers. See, there's a lot of real estate on this stamp. So if you break it down, you could see all the different ways you can use this one big stamp as if it were smaller stamps. And the other good thing about this particular stamp, see how it has very thin lines? So it's not taking a lot from from your eye. You could just leave it like that, actually, if you wanted to. Now for this you can use the liquid glue because this is going to go in the mail. And no matter how you tell them to mail it like a package, they're probably going to throw it around and bend it and everything. So, flip it over. Get your liquid glue up into the corners as much as you can. If it spills out this time, it's okay because that ensures really, really good adhesion to the plastic envelope. Okay, so I got good glue going all around. And also, because it's liquid glue, once it adheres, it won't bubble up and roll around like a bumpy cake. Tacky glue will do that. If you did this with tacky glue, and when it dries, you would have that pattern showing on the other side, sticking out of that. All right. And now, I did pre-cover it just because it still has my address on there. Make sure it fits right over there. Oh, you know what? Hold on. It's 6 by 6, so it goes this way. There we go. There we go. Now see just how cute that Tanzanite ink stamped with just enough little leaves color coordinates with the blues on the sides of this envelope. All right, now, yes, you would have added your address to and from before you glued it down, unless you're going to put a Sharpie on. That is, if you're going to put it on with a Sharpie, that's a whole other story. But again, smush it down. And make sure you sign a nice, fun little sentiment or lovey-dovey saying in each of your cards to your friend. Stick it in there. And then, of course, you're going to use whatever tape you need to glue it. And there you go. I thought this would be the perfect project to highlight a set of masculine cards. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my final for level 2.